I work for Xylem in the UK. I've actually got a new role heading up the water utility business in the UK. And today I want to talk to you about data-driven solutions for proactive asset management. And we're going to cover looking at leakage from different perspectives, identifying and managing different sources of data, and using the data to make your investment decisions in the future. But before I start, I thought I would just take 5 minutes to talk about Xylem, because those of you who know Xylem in the UK and internationally probably think of us as a pump supplier and a supplier of treatment work products. Okay, so you're probably thinking, why is this guy going to stand up here and talk about data all day? So the reason I am is, you know, in our business, because we have these product experts, these guys are continually trying to take what they know about the process and application and knowledge they have over many years. Most of them are middle-aged and grey-haired, yes they are, but they want to get that knowledge into systems that deliver real benefits to our customers. But we kind of just have a difficulty there when you're talking about a pump in a clean water booster station or a pump in a sewage pumping station. And that's difficult to then get that data to really deliver some actionable outcomes. So about 5 years ago, we took a decision in Xylem to really look at what the big hitters were in our water market, not just in the UK, this is internationally. And the ones we came up with were, you know, urbanisation increase, we've got increase in population, we've got extreme weather events, and of course the reliance on all of that on increased energy, and what could we really do about that. And we came up with the decision that we needed to invest in data analytics. We needed to invest in machine learning and AI and all these wonderful buzzwords we'll hear for 2 days. But the reason we needed to do that was to integrate our knowledge about the processes really into that, into something that can really provide good actionable outcomes. One of the areas, well, most of the areas that we looked at were around leakage, our water network, our sewer network, to really manage catchment management and our treatment processes. So we started looking around the world for products. You know, every company the size of Xylem has a mergers and acquisitions department, and they're looking at what company to acquire next. And we're not interested anymore in buying maybe the competition or another Me Too product. We're only interested in buying companies that we can take the brilliant work they do and we can globalize it and really make a benefit to our customers. The area that we'll obviously talk about today is the leakage side of the business. But we have, so we took this decision to then look at these products because we're just very passionate about solving these problems in this area. And the leakage element is by far the biggest piece that we can influence and the biggest piece we have invested in. So we haven't invested in products that are being used today necessarily. We have in one aspect, but more what we need for the future going forward, and what the data that we're collecting today. The guy from the logger business this morning said, we've got all this data, it's all stored somewhere. We've got to have systems that use it. So that's where we've been investing. That is not to say that everything we do today, like the dog in you, or the listeners and all of these things, are not fantastic for today. And they have driven leakage down in this country and in other countries by a huge amount. But I think it was Trevor that said yesterday, diminishing returns is where we will eventually get to. And I think Jeremy mentioned that, you know, it's 15% today. We've got to have this continual roadmap that really drives this down so that we really do see possibly the end of the tunnel. Okay, so that's who we are. We have created an advanced infrastructure analytics platform within our business. It's full of what we describe as disruptive technologies and really help water utilities to deliver some great benefits to them, but also stuff that produces the actionable outcomes, because that's the bit that's important here, isn't it? It's not about saying here's all the data. It's about being able to do something with the data and that make tangible benefits for our customers. And ultimately, we're all customers to our water companies, so it's benefiting ourselves as well. So it's all about data gathering, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and we do believe, and I'll show you some examples, we do believe that we make 10 times benefit on any investment that that would be being made. Okay, so utility performance stage. This kind of hit me yesterday with a guy from EBRD who wasn't a banker but worked for a bank. And he's kind of down at that pre-effective stage, I think, the customers he's dealing with. Most of us, in the kind of do we have a problem, most of us, and I think we said yesterday, everybody's doing the basics really, really well. It's just about how fast we can solve that problem. But we need to be getting to stages we solve problems before they happen. We predict them we predict when things are going to happen, so that we resolve the emergency that Jeremy was going on that kind of fits people's minds. So, just a couple of things about the AIA piece. They may be only 4 or 5 years old to Xylem. First one we bought was a metering company called Census, massive in the US and growing very, very well in the UK and around the rest of Europe. But one of the things I wanted to point out is, we do all these inline inspections that we're going to go on about, but the average age of these AIA companies we have bought is 14 years. These guys have been around, they have created huge benefit to their customers. The only difference is one was in America and didn't go outside America, one was in Europe, didn't go outside Europe, one was in Singapore, didn't go outside Singapore. So what Xylem has provided is the ability for those great innovation products to come outside of those countries where they wouldn't have done before. Okay, just briefly on decision intelligence, that's what we call our outcomes. We need this intelligence to be able to make decisions and make outcomes. Application specific, what we found in treatment works is that you can optimize and control treatment works pretty much with, you're better doing it with one product, with one piece of software. Because they all kind of relate to each other. But in the leakage world, it's not quite like that, because there's so many parts to trunk mains, to the network, to losses through inaccurate metering. Everybody's kind of looking at different areas of that. So we find there that it's different applications. It's not just one. And I think this is the point to say all of the software we have invested in is very hardware agnostic. Okay, although we would love to sell our own products in it, we don't need to. You don't need to change. The stuff you've already got out there will do just as good a job on here. Okay, so 4 bits I want to concentrate in: acing your water audits, proactive management of assets, ensure the water quality from source to tap. This was an interesting one given your example yesterday, Andrew. Here's 3 water companies in America. Okay. Here's the amount of kilometres of pipe work they have, and the number of leaks that we have discovered and where the leaks sit. Okay, so 8% of the leaks of that one fell into their trunk mains. But look at the stat on the total leakage. 49% of it was on the total leakage. Next one, 9% of the leaks were in the trunk mains. 87% was the total leakage. And the third one, 7%, only 37%. So out of these 3 cases, at least more than a third of the leakage came from trunk mains, which I guess is the point to you, Andrew, when you were lying on the beach and your trunk main started leaking. So the point is that no water company is going to be the same. So you need to invest in the equipment that is actually going to measure it. Because at the moment, I think I spoke to Mark this morning, and what was it? I can't remember the term. We used to use we know what we don't know. Yes, we know what we don't know, and that is what we don't know. We don't know what the stat is, so we need the data to be able to do it. Okay, so acing your water audit. Thankfully, it's been mentioned this morning and yesterday by Andrew. One of the first companies we acquired was Pure Technologies. Just because of the innovation they bring to inline inspection tools for leakage. The thought of putting one of these down a pipe, pumping it 20 Ks, bringing it out the other end, and then it telling you exactly where your leak is, and even better for UK, it tells you where it went as well, so it can confirm what your GIS is. That is great innovation to us. Now, I see this as innovation because I've only been involved in it for 4 or 5 years. Guys at Pure don't see this as an innovative, easy for me to say, tool. What they see it is as something that they create innovation in. It's been around for a while, but they continue to create innovation around it. It now has much better GIS mapping capability than it used to have. So we have the options for this, and when you can't put that, there's the Sahara up on the screen there as well. So this is going to be able to pinpoint exactly where your leaks occur. Okay, so here's the stats on what we've done with it globally. 6,000 miles of pipe, found 2.7 thousand leaks. So putting this down a pipe has found that amount of leaks, and precisely where they are. Okay, not an estimate, not concerned about how noisy it is during the day or whatever. It's found precisely where the leak is. So something that, as I say, it's been around for a while. I think it's greatly innovative, but our Pure guys just are, that's the stats they've done since this was designed and rolled out. Okay, is your water, is the water audit continued? Now, this is a really interesting one, because if you see, we're not just, this is a piece of software. Again, whatever the transient and the noise logger is, it doesn't matter to the software. But what we're showing here is that we're looking at both of them. Normally, you're only looking at one of these. Okay. Now, the reason that I think this is so apparent now is that where's Mark? Is he still in the room? I think it's the guy from Muller this morning. He showed this big burst in Singapore. Okay, that system runs the whole of Singapore, and it will have told it happened. Maybe it didn't tell it was going to happen, but it told it happened. But I guess the more key point here is that Singapore have a 10% leakage rate. Okay, and it is being done by that software telling them every morning where they need to go. Okay, so that's the software that is running there to get that down to these type of levels. Okay, here's one that I didn't know whether it would be very apparent or very appropriate here. This is more around apparent losses of meters. So the chap from Yorkshire Water said yesterday, I thought it was great. He said, you know, if only we could meter every house and we could have a flow meter at every DMA, we would know exactly what we lose. Well, we would, except for, as Andrew knows because he's done it in Lisbon, these meters do lose calibration. And if you have thousands of them, then that's probably quite a lot. So this is a nice piece of software which looks at the meters and the meter readings and etc. and actually gives you predictive information about what meters you should be changing. Okay, which is huge in America, and obviously where you have metering, a lot of metering inputs, then you should be. It's a great software for that. Okay, promote calm networks. Again, this is the stuff that out of Singapore. It's all about promoting that calm network, being able to identify, if you look at the bottom left, being able to identify where these sources that create big transient in your network are, to be able to then deal with them. Because the worst thing is knowing you've got it, but not knowing how to deal with it. Okay, again, this is a product from Pure, which again I think is really innovative, but these guys just believe that the innovation is what we can do further on for it. This is about the trunk main. Now this is really key in the UK at the moment. I know there was a question from our international guy yesterday about why we aren't replacing trunk mains and things like that, but this is absolutely key. Yes, we do have aging infrastructure, it's a huge concern, and I think Jeremy even mentioned this morning the same stat. The best-in-class renewal programs only addresses 1% of the system per year, so we're going to replace it in 100 years. That's not going to deal with leakage problems, isn't it? It's not going to deal with burst. So you need to find out which parts and what pipes you need to spend your investment on. Most pipes, in the experience of the guys that do these surveys, most pipes are in good condition. Okay, but they are exceptionally high risk and they have very high replacement value. And we reckon by running these inspections, we can defer 90% of the capex while reducing risk. Okay, so what we're saying is we put a pipe diver down the pipe. Okay, it is looking for the condition of the wall of the pipe. Okay, and being able to work out when that pipe, if it needs done today or whether it needs done in the future. Now, in the experience of these, okay, of all of the investigations they've done, less than 4% actually needs some amount of attention, or you would put a question mark and have a risk associated with it. 4% of it. Less than 1% actually needs change today. Okay, so all of these replacement programs where somebody's going, that's 50 years old, we need to replace it, in the stats, 4% of it is a concern, 1% needs changed. So, okay, there needs to be a program of works that puts the product down the pipe, brings it out the other end and gets the data out. Yes, we need to do that, but at the end of the day, it's going to tell you what pipe you need to change now, and it's going to tell you what pipe you need to keep a lookout for in the future. Okay. Now, this is the most, I guess, telling graph of the presentation, in the bottom right. This shows what you would invest if you were replacing pipe in red, and what the yellow is the inspection, and the blue, I think, is the amount you would need to replace the part. Okay, so the big difference in there is the capex you save by doing investigations into your condition of your pipe wall, and therefore deciding on your investment and where the investment goes. Okay, I think that's a really powerful graph to use, and that's out of the one of our case studies. So risk registers, we all have them. So if you look at the one on the left, that's before condition assessment. The one on the right is obviously all the ones are green, and then we've got some dots where in the bits we need to look at. Scottish Water, we have run this on one of their in North Glasgow, and this is what they now have. They had, I know what I don't know. I know I've got a single trunk rain running to the north of Glasgow, and I don't know what the condition is. So they knew they didn't know. They ran this, and again the stats showed 4% needs to be looked at, less than 1% actually needed to be replaced. Okay, so that pipeline, which would cost millions to repair, is now not on their risk register. Okay, maybe a couple of parts of it that they need to keep an eye on in the future, but it's now not on their risk register. Okay, ensure quality from source to tap. I don't think we hear enough about water quality. I'm looking at the hated mic there. We don't hear enough about water quality when we talk about these things, I don't think, because it needs to come hand in hand. But we did invest in one of the software companies which kind of looks at energy, the balance between energy and energy use for pumping your water, and then what your age of water is, and therefore what the water quality of it is, because in some areas that's very, very pertinent. We were speaking to one of the UK water companies only last week about their desire to sell off their water towers to people to live in or put antennas on or whatever, but they didn't want them as water towers anymore, and it's because of this reason, isn't it? Okay, and the other one, which is a very, very new acquisition but very exciting for us, and where we kind of get this, where we've looked at treatment works in the past and gone, okay, this bit of process we need to optimize, this bit of process we need to optimize, etc. And these guys are really clever across all of the process, and they kind of come up with this design that allows you to look at every piece of the software and only kind of move with the bit that is necessary to you, because as you change one piece of process, we know it will have an effect on the rest, and that's why in the water treatment world we're kind of looking at these software packages that are optimizing the whole package and not just the particular part of the process that you're looking at. And it kind of shows here that before optimization, these are the kind of wasted parts of specific energy in that process. But as we're looking to reduce specific energy, we're not doing that at the detriment of any other part of the process. Okay, so apologies for the whistle-stop tour of these, but I just thought we would try and get them all in, because we are now we've got great engagement in our business now, because those those guys who are grey and middle-aged, who have all of this data, are now really, really keen and are having conversations with the guys around machine learning and all of the rest of these types of parts of our business. And they're all now engaged in producing products that really can solve a lot of those big problems that we see. I think it's worth just mentioning that we are so passionate about innovation, and we know that innovation comes from the supply chain, and we know it comes from all parts of business. But we're so passionate about it. We're doing an event later this month on the 26th of July with R4. It's being rolled out and done with British Water, in association with British Water, where we can really start talking about how we get these types of products into the UK water market to really be able to have a big impact in AMP7, and it's not just an AMP8, and it's further down the road. We're really looking to see how we can take all of these great innovations that we have found around the world and really drive them into this investment period. Okay, thank you for your time.